today I'm going to talk about my geometry lesson. For third grade, the concepts they're starting to learn are two-dimensional shapes, share attributes like how squares and rectangles have four sides, and some things that are different. And then also recognizing that if you have a rectangle and it's flipped on its side or it's up and down, it's still a rectangle. And then the other concept I wanted to work on is partitioning shapes into equal parts, and then how much of a fraction is that. I used Geo Sketchpad. I wasn't really impressed with it for third graders. I think it's way too difficult. So I have a circle here, and I would say to them, how can we divide this circle equally? And then we would mess around with some lines like, okay, so there's one. Can we do it again? There's another one. And then can we do it again? There's another one. And then we would talk about, okay, well, you divided it 3 times, but they're not equal parts, right? Are the pieces of cake or the pieces of pizza the same? And then, no, they're not. So what more do we need to do? Oh, we need one more. And then how many equal parts does it make? I think something that's interesting, they could color them in. So you could say, like, color in 3, 8s, and so they could color them in there. I think that to make other shapes like squares and stuff, it's very complicated unless you have something that you can add on to this, which I haven't explored enough to see. So I also thought about just doing it, in paint. So we take a new paint here, and there's all these shapes right up here. So they might have a square. And it's not going to be exact because we're making it with this, but we would do the best we can. And then take their little line up here and make it a different color and have them divide it. And that'd be 1/2. And that would be, you'd say, what is that? And if they don't do well, they can go back and try again. Just getting the idea that they're basically getting the general amount. So then you say, okay, you have 4 equal parts. Well, what if you wanted to represent 1/4? And then they could fill in the 1/4. Or you could say, okay, well, what if I fill in this one, and this one? What's that fraction? And they could say 3/4. I think paint is something that little kids are much more comfortable with. I know third graders are starting to get into the higher level math, but when I was looking around at Geo Sketchpad, a lot of the lessons I found were much higher end lessons. I even have this square on here. I thought, you could divide that up, and that'd be, could talk about different fractions with that. But to make a perfect square, you have to make a circle and some other things. So I wasn't really impressed with Geo Sketchpad for grade school, but some of the middle school stuff I saw was excellent. And that is my geometry lesson.